Namaskar. So my talk will be in English, uh, and I would like to start, and I would like to share a gift that Swamiji gave to all of us before he left this world. Probably the greatest gift we could ever have, and it's a mantra that I would like all of Swamiji's disciples to recite along with me 3 times, and it's the mantra for Swachanda Bhairava. The mantra is the Agora mantra. Om Agorebio Tagorebio Gore Gore Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste Rudra Rupebhya Agorebhyo Tagorebhyo Gore Gore Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste Rudra Rupebhya Agorebhyo Tagorebhyo Gore Gore Taribhyascha Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo Namaste. So this is the mantra that Swamiji gave to the world, and it happened after he had a very interesting experience in 1989, where he had direct darshan of Swachanda Bhairava. So I wanted to share that with you, and then, of course, I need to address our panel here. Of course, Professor Jha and Professor Tripathi, I have already met. Professor Vashisht, it's very interesting. He's from Sampurnanda, the Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya. 57 years ago, almost to this time, Swami Lakshmanjoo made a presentation at the Sampurnanda Sanskrit, and it was in lucid Sanskrit on Kundalini Vijnana Rahasya, the secret of Kundalini. And his talk was so impressive to the overseer of that conference, who you're all familiar with, that Mahamohabhaja, it was Gopinath Kaviraj, he invited Swamiji. Instead of going back to the audience, he said, come and sit on the stage. And the one statement that he made was that Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, Trikadarshana, is alive and well, and it's fully embodied in Swami Lakshmanjoo. And that was the start of, we can say, Swamiji's exposure outside of Kashmir, because before that, very little was known about Swamiji, very little was known about the teaching of Kashmir Shaivism. And from that time in 1965, scholars began to trickle into Kashmir. They sat at the feet of Swamiji, and he freely gave his knowledge on any subject of Shaivism and subjects of all the other systems to whoever was very sincere. He was very careful with his knowledge, though. When he gave his knowledge out, I would say, Professor Jha has touched on this. He connected some people with the Sampradaya, which is the most important thing in understanding Kashmir Shaivism. Without the connection to the Sampradaya, we can study Kashmir Shaivism for a long time, and it's a very interesting subject, but something happens. Something happens when you actually get directly connected to that Sampradaya. So how do we know Swamiji was connected to that? Well, early on, Swamiji admitted that he had the darshan when he went into the forest at Sadhu Ganga, a very sacred place in Kashmir, at the age of 17. He had darshan of many great saints and many great yogis and many great devatas of this system. But it wasn't until somewhere in 1970 he commissioned an artist to paint a picture of Abhinavagupta based on the picture, pen picture that is there in the Guru Paramartha. So when the artist came and gave him the picture, Swamiji said, no, his beard isn't pointed. He said, Abhinavagupta's beard is trimmed. How would he know that? Up until that time, the pictures that appeared, especially in K.C. Pandey's beautiful book on the history of Abhinavagupta, the beard was pointed. And there's no mention in the actual pen picture that was written 200 years after Abhinavagupta's life. But Swamiji said, no, his beard is neatly trimmed. And he made the artist remove the pointed beard. In 1988, Swamiji was giving lectures on the Parachashika Vivarana, Abhinavagupta's long commentary on the Parachashika Vivarana. And after the first verse, Amritamananta Manutara, Anand, it doesn't. Amrita, no, that's the first verse. Amritamananta Manutaram Agora Shodha Shakti. Anyway, it'll come to me. It's somewhere in there. We were actually going through the 16 meanings of Anuttara in the Paratushika Vivarana. It comes from the first verse. Anuttaram katam deva, that's it. Anuttaram katam deva sadya kaulika siddhidam yena vigrata matrena kechari samatam prajet. Abhinavagupta gave 16 meanings, and after that lecture, yeah, that step is a good one. Yes. So after that lecture that he gave, we thought we would continue with that. And then Swamiji, before the next lecture, when we went to the ashram, he was sitting in such a mood that you couldn't actually speak to him. We came in and we sat just at his feet. The silence was so penetrating. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, Swamiji announced that there would be no lecture today. He said, we will have a lecture in a few days' time. And then he sat quietly again and he said, last night I had darshan of Abhinavagupta. And Abhinavagupta told me something very important that I want to share with you. And we didn't know what that was. And in the very next lecture, Swamiji recited the Mangala slokas of the Ishvara Pratyabhijna Vivriti Vimarshini, Abhinavagupta's commentary on the Ishvara Pratyabhijna. And each of the first verses was embodying the Rudra Shakti, the Amrita Bijas of the 16 vowels of the Sanskrit alphabet. And this contribution that Swamiji said, he said, this is the essence of Pratyabhijna. These 16 Mangala shlokas that Abhinavagupta has given, this is the essence of recognition of your own nature. So we know from that, I'm getting back to this point, that Swamiji was directly connected to the Sampradaya of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, this Kula system, and the word Kula has come up many times this morning. And we are all actually part of that Kula. If you're interested in this subject, getting connected to that is something quite interesting. And that's what happened with Rameshwara Jha when he went to Kashmir. He said that just sitting at Swamiji's presence, something happened. Because I think you pointed out, he went there to debate with Swamiji, and Swamiji said, yes, we can debate, but have a cup of tea. And they had a cup of tea together, and when Rameshwara Jha was finished his cup of tea, he just went to Swamiji, he did pranams, and he said, okay, you win. And he said from that, the debate happened by just drishti, just Swamiji looking at him. And he didn't know how it happened, but then he wrote this beautiful set of verses in honor of Swamiji. And one of those verses, he points out that Jeshta, Raudri, Vama, and Amba. He points out that Swamiji embodied these energies. And these are the energies of the Agora mantra. The subtle energies of this Agora mantra are Jeshta, Raudri, Vama, and Ambika, who comes into the world. So on that, Swamiji was giving out the first letter, because these embody the very first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, the letter or Anuttara. So it was in this context that Swamiji shared his knowledge. He didn't share his knowledge just briefly if somebody had this particular question. Each time he would see automatically that this person has a real thirst for this knowledge. One such person is my dear friend Mark Diskowski, sitting in the front seat here, who met Swamiji in 1975 and was completely connected with this sampradaya. And everybody else here, I can only speak for by looking in people's eyes. You can see who has been connected by this through this wonderful system. And there's another very interesting point that happened with Swamiji. In 1990, he was translating Abhinavagupta's Bhagavad Gita, and somebody asked him, because Swamiji had already indicated, I'm leaving this world. I have work to do, he said, up in the other lokas. I won't leave this world and do nothing. I have plenty of work to do, he said. And somebody asked, Swamiji, when you leave this world, how will people get initiation? How will people get connected to Kashmir Shaivism? Immediately he pointed to the camera. He said, through this. He said, through this, people will get connected. And he said, and there are so many more books to do. And what was he saying? What was he saying? Was he saying it through darshan, or was he saying it through the knowledge? And the key for that is that Abhinavagupta himself has said in Tantra Loka 1, I remember the verse, but it's not coming to my mind. In Tantra Loka, the first Anika, verse 160, Abhinavagupta says that most people think that knowledge is the cause, hetu, of moksha, that knowledge is the cause of liberation. But Abhinavagupta says, no. Knowledge itself is liberation. The knowledge itself is liberation. And this whole knowledge which has been laid at our feet by the masters of this sampradaya, going back 5,000 years up to Durvasa Rishi, this knowledge itself is the key, is the initiation into this system. Because everybody, Swamiji would say, everybody wants to sit at some guru's feet and touch their feet and have a guru. He said that the guru is in you, and understanding of that is in the knowledge. So understanding that is the inherent part of
Open
this.
in
And
3D.
this verse that Abhinavagupta has pointed out, he said that no, knowledge is not the cause of liberation. Knowledge itself is liberation. But what is that knowledge? Is it just book knowledge? Is it Bauddha Gyan? It's Bauddha Gyan mixed with Purusha Gyan. It is the combination of the two. And Swamiji has given one verse. I'll finish shortly here. He's given one verse in a series of verses that have now become basically a puja of slokas that are recited all around the world by Kashmiri devotees or devotees of this system. And the one verse was actually penned down by Kemaraja. I think it's in the introduction, an introductory verse to his Netra Tantra. Prakashamane paramata banal, nasyatya kim chit timire samaste, tara buddha nirmala drishtayopi, kim chena pashyanti bhava prapancham. So in a sense, it says that yogi who has realized the full sunshine of knowledge, the sunshine of knowledge, wherever he goes, whatever he does in this world, he's soaked in God consciousness everywhere. And he's attained a state of eternal samadhi, even though he's in the world. So, let me just, come on, Steve. No, it's okay. So what I'd like to finish with is, and I'm going to call on Swamiji's devotees who are here, because we're talking about this sampradaya, but we often miss the fact that the sampradaya is living through the teachers and those who are expressing this knowledge. And at the end of the Shiva Drishti, written by Somananda, who was Utpaladeva's guru, he gave a chronology. He gave the krama of the masters of this system, starting from 5,000 years ago. And Swamiji liked it when that was put together in a number of verses, which is a eulogy to all of these masters that we're talking about. So it isn't us, it isn't Professor Jha and Professor Kamlesh, and we are speaking the knowledge that has come through from this tradition. So might be the first time this has been recited in Kashi. So what I'd like to do is call upon the devotees, and we're invoking the masters of this whole tradition that we're talking about, and we should feel the blessings of these masters from that. So I'll finish with that. And Om Amriteshvara Bhairavam Swachandanatam Shri Kantanatam Rishi Durvasasam Manasaputram Trambakinatam Amardakinatam Srinatam Manasaputrim Ardatrayambakakyam Trambakadityam Sangamadityam Varshadityam Arunadityam Anandam Somanandam Utpaladevam Acharyavaram Sri Shambhunatam Lakshmana Guptam Abhinav Guptam Chemarajam Yogarajam Cha Shri Guru Manakakam Shaivacharyam Ramam Tatshisham Shri Mahatabhakam Guru Santati Rupain Avataritam Shaiva Shambhum Ishvara Swarupam Cha Bhairavam Rudram Shiva Tantram Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharya Mahantam Abhinav Guptam Shaiva Shankar Avataritam Ishwar Swarupam Purna Purna Namami Ishwar Swarupam Purna Purna Namami Ishwar Swarupam